This is the story of two Yosemites. One is the Yosemite Valley everybody knows. It is one of the most beautiful valleys in the world. Handsome cliffs and waterfalls in a charming setting. Trees to frame the vistas, meadows to look at and to look from, natural beauty underfoot and to walk by, a setting with open space, living space that 1 million people see and enjoy every year. The other Yosemite was only a little less beautiful than this one, and a few miles to the north, Hetch Hetchy Valley. Wapama Falls was one of Hetch Hetchy's finest, but now the setting is gone. You see, Hetch Hetchy was a remarkable storage vessel, with a fine dam site where the walls crowded together. It was dammed to enable Moccasin Creek Powerhouse in the Sierra foothills to generate some kilowatts for San Francisco at the cost of the nation's scenery. They said the dam would be easily covered by grasses and vines. John Muir, the Sierra Club, and other conservation groups fought hard against this destructive park invasion. San Francisco argued that without this water, it would wither. It must have this cheap power. There were no good alternatives, and the dam would enhance the beauty of the place and make it more accessible. The greatest good for the greatest number, teaming San Francisco against the few people who had yet visited Yosemite. Not one of the city's claims has proved valid, but 40 years ago, San Francisco won. This once beautiful valley, part of a national park, was flooded. We took these pictures May 13th, 1955. The reservoir was down 180 feet, but 60 feet higher than it had been May 1st. In June, it would probably fill, then start right back down again. For it is a fluctuating reservoir, as most power and storage reservoirs must be. Its zone of ups and downs between high water and low is a region of desolation. Nothing permanent can grow in it. This zone is ugly enough at the dam. At the head of the reservoir, it's worse. There, this much drawdown means 2 miles of desolation with a vengeance. We walked a mile up into it. Although it was still early in the season, 1,600 people came into Yosemite Valley that same day. 2 came to Hetch Hetchy. And we didn't come for pleasure. Who would? What you see here is what you'll see in most fluctuating reservoirs and what no one should see in a park. Stumps where the basin was cleared, stumps and more stumps, exposed and re-exposed, until silt finally buries them. The stream, it was one of the most beautiful in the Sierra, is silted in. Tuolumne Falls is covered. The banks are silted. The flat living space is silted. And as soon as the silt is dry enough, it is on the move, a dust bowl, from the silt that sloughed off the canyon sides when the reservoir was full. The river brings still more each year, and wind-blown scum collects in the eddies of what was a sparkling river. A dead butterfly joins the dead scene. The rising flood will soon bury a lonely flower and exhume each year the wedges a woodcutter left 40 years ago. 40 years. They had circulated touched-up pictures with an artist's conception of a pretty lake, always brim full. San Francisco's mayor wrote,
"The scene will be enhanced by the effect of the lake, reflecting all above it and about it, in itself a great and attractive natural object."
Secretary of the Interior James Garfield testified,
"In weighing the two sides of the question, I thought that it should be resolved in favor of San Francisco, because this use of the valley would not destroy it as one of the most beautiful spots in the West. It would simply change the floor of the valley from a meadow to a beautiful lake."
Congressman Engelbright added,
"As it is a lake, it will be one of great beauty. There will be fine fishing in it, and boating, and so on. which would make the lake an improvement to the park.
There were alternate sites, other sources of water, and of power too, the real motive. So the day of atomic power could have arrived with Hetch Hetchy still beautiful. But the Secretary of the Interior accepted the city's claim. They had made a careful, competent study, and no other way would do. The alternatives, which would have harmed no precious scenery, remain unused. And for the million people who come to Yosemite Valley each year to enjoy it, perhaps 1,000 approach Hetch Hetchy to turn away from its tragic drabness. Why should they stay? To pack in and camp here? To let the children play in the meadows? To fish in this stream? To breathe the clean mountain air? Could this ever have been beautiful? Above the waterline is a clue to what beauty would have remained. Colorful lichens, miniature gardens of mosses and ferns. These bring life to the rocks and rills. Near the promontory where a summer home was built for city officials, well above the fluctuation zone that dominates every broad vista, there's a pitifully small flat area, too small for camping, and almost as unattractive as this dead zone. But on a nearby slope along the dead-end trail, you can find a little remnant of the former beauty of this place. Yellow pines grow above a golden carpet. Flowers bloom under the trees and light up the cool shade under a few dripping granite boulders. There is a temporary stream that runs a few feet through this isolated garden and drops into a desolate zone of rock, sand, and stumps. A patch or two of grass remains above the high water line, but there will never be grass enough, nor vines enough, to conceal the dam. You find that even this little bit of grass is spoiled by the high water debris and monotonous view. Across the valley, the main falls are still there, shining in the springtime. But where is the setting? Where is the pulsing heartland of this place? It is gone. Gone beyond the recall of our civilization. Thanks to the dam, where plaques praise the men who took so much from so many for all our time. How much they took, we can't show. But we know from the men who saw Hetch Hetchy before it was destroyed that Yosemite Valley is its nearest counterpart. Hetch Hetchy cliffs were like this, free of the bleach and water stain, unspoiled, set in forests, forests where you could walk by the shaded stream. These Yosemite scenes were taken the same day as those you have just seen in Hetch Hetchy, and in both places the rivers were bank full. Yosemite tells what a setting means everywhere you look. Here you can see what the trees, which are now stumps, ought still to be doing for Hetch Hetchy, providing a place to stroll, to relax, to listen, to see clear waters glide over clean rocks, to catch the sun sparkle, to breathe fragrant air, to rest where the river pauses, to feel renewed, to know the beauty of natural things. There isn't enough of this in Yosemite to meet today's needs, let alone tomorrow's. The future will find abundant power outside the parks, parks for which there are no alternatives. So many of the parks are already overcrowded. Certainly Yosemite is. And Hetch Hetchy could have given to millions, for ages, much of what Yosemite gives. Its waters could have remained an inspiration in their beautiful natural setting, and then be put to practical use downstream, just as Yosemite's river is. The cliffs, the meadows, the groves, the streamside, the whole setting, what do they mean to man? Something you can neither measure in dollars nor replace with dollars. Hetch Hetchy's setting is irretrievably lost to all of us and to all generations. It need not have been. In 1916, Congress put up a sign to prevent any more tragedies like this one. It was the National Park Act, which says to park exploiters, do not enter. We'll do well to remember Hetch Hetchy, where once was too often.